Hello, boys and girls. Today's topic is passive voice. What is passive voice and why do we need it? This is not a very easy topic, and students usually find it confusing about when they need it and how to form the passive verbs. So you'd better pay close attention. Do raise your questions if you encounter problems when you do the exercise. Before we go into what passive voice really is, we need to understand how a sentence is formed. If you remember what you have learned before, usually a sentence consists of three parts: the subject, the verb, and the object. These are the basic parts to form a sentence. Look at these examples. I stay at home all day. Miss Lee has given us a lot of homework. I have highlighted the verbs for your easy reference. In any sentence, anything that goes before the verb is the subject, and anything that goes after the verb is the object. So you can see that this is the subject of the sentence, and home, this is the object which goes after the verb. Okay? And in the second sentence, Miss Lee is the subject of the sentence, and us is the object of the sentence which goes after the verb. So basically, this is how a sentence is formed. Once you understand how a basic sentence works, let's revise what active voice is, which is a very common sentence structure at your level. When we say the sentence is in active voice, it means that the subject or the thing before the verb does the action onto the object, which is the thing after the verb. We also have names for them. We call the thing that does the action doer, or the thing that receives the action receiver. Okay, now these may sound very complicated to you, so let's look at these sentences as examples. I go to school by the MTR, and he did his homework last night. Okay, now when you see these two sentences, you see that I, which is highlighted in pink, is the action doer. What does it mean? It means that this does the action of going. The verb go, this action is done by the subject I in this sentence. And the object in this sentence, the school, it is not doing any action. Instead, the action of going is done onto the school. So the school is the action receiver. All right. Now, in the second example, we see that he, which is highlighted in pink, is doing the action of doing in this sentence, and his homework is not doing any action. Instead, the action of doing is being done on the homework by he. So this is the meaning of action doer and action receiver. Okay, the things highlighted in pink are the action doer, which starts or initiates the action. And then the things highlighted in yellow are the action receivers, which are being accepted, the action done on them. Here are some more examples. I go to school every day. We are having lesson, and Mr. Mac taught us maths last year. So you see the things in pink, they are the action doers. And then the things in yellow are action receivers. You can also see that in these sentences, sometimes we have other things that follow the object, or we call them the action receivers in these sentences. Like every day, every day, or maths last year. Okay, these technically speaking, they are not part of the action receivers or the object, but they are just giving you more information about these sentences. So in these sentences, again, the pink ones, they are the action doers. They are doing the action of going. They are doing the action of having, and they are doing the action of teaching. So that is the meaning of action doers. And then the yellow ones, lesson, school, and us, they are not doing any actions. Instead, the actions are being done on them. Okay, can you see that? All right. So hopefully now you understand what active voice is, because it is very important for us to understand what passive voice is. Now, we know the relationship of action doer and action receivers in a sentence. However, there are times that we don't know who do the things or who do the actions. For example, I put an apple on the desk last night, and then this morning when I woke up, it was gone. So the apple was not on the desk anymore. In this situation, we don't really know who ate my apple. So we can't really put the action doer in the sentence in a normal way in the active voice. So who ate my apple? Well, we can say someone ate my apple. But actually, we can also write the sentence in passive voice, which is my apple was eaten. In this way, we don't need to put the action doer in the sentence, because now the sentence begins with the action receiver in the subject, not the action doer. Instead of putting a sentence in active voice, we put the sentence a bit differently. We put the sentence in this way: my apple was eaten. Now the subject of the sentence is not the action doer. Instead, it is the action receiver. This is what we call a passive voice. A passive voice is a sentence in which the subject of the sentence is the action receiver instead of an action doer in an active voice. So let me recap what exactly is active voice. To put it in simple words, passive voice is when the subject of the sentence is the action receiver. Like in this example, my apple was eaten, or the vase is broken. An active voice is when the subject of the sentence is the action doer. So another two examples: someone ate my apple. Now this one is an active voice. Or my brother broke the vase. Okay? Now in these two sentences, you see that the subject, someone, and my brother does the action of eating and breaking the vase. Now in this one, this is an active voice. But if you look at the first two examples, my apple, my vase, now these two, they cannot do the action of eating, and the vase cannot do the action of breaking. Instead, this action was done to the apple, and this action is done onto the vase by someone else. But in these situations, we don't know who does the action. Okay, so now in these two examples, this is passive voice. Okay. You may wonder, why do we need passive voice? Are we teachers making things complicated? Well, actually, no. Passive voice can come in quite handy in some situations. First one, when we don't know who does the action or who the action doer is. For example, in my example just now, my apple was eaten. We don't know who ate my apple, so we can't really put the sentence in active voice. So in this case, passive voice is really useful because we can just tell people my apple was eaten, avoiding mentioning the action doer, which is unknown to me. And then the second situation why we need passive voice is because the action doer is very, very clear or very obvious. For example, the thief was arrested last night. Okay, now in this situation, who could do the action of arresting? Definitely is the police. It couldn't be me or it couldn't be anyone else, because only the police can have the power to arrest someone. All right, so in this situation, because the action doer is too obvious, so we don't need to mention it. So we can just mention or we can just make a sentence: the thief was arrested last night, and then everyone would know that it is the police who arrested the thief. Okay, and then in the third situation, it is the action doer is not important. All right, for example, you failed to submit your homework to me, and then the next morning you came up to me and then tell me, oh, sorry, Miss Lee, I cannot do my homework because my notebook was stolen. All right, now in this situation, it doesn't really matter, or it is not important who stole your notebook. What you want to tell Miss Lee is you can't do the work because the book is stolen. It doesn't matter whether it is you or whether it is the boy in the next class or whether it is your dog stole your notebook. Okay, so the action doer is not important in the context. So in this case, passive voice is really handy in this case. Now you know that action doers are not important in passive voice. However, we always have exceptions in English. We can still introduce the action doers in a passive voice sentence using the word by. In this way, it sounds more formal in our writing. Okay? Look at this sentence. School is cancelled by the government because of the coronavirus. Okay, now we see that school, this is the action receiver in the sentence. It is cancelled. The action of cancelling is done onto the school. By whom? Who does the action? It is the government. So the government is the action doer. Okay, so this is a passive voice sentence with the action receiver in the subject. And then we introduce the action doer after the main verb using the preposition of by. Okay, so we can still introduce the action doers in a passive voice sentence. So let's round up what we have learned so far. Okay, so we have learned that active voice is when the subject of the sentence is the action doer. And passive voice is when the subject of the sentence is the action receiver. And then there are 3 reasons of using passive voice. And also we can introduce the action doer in a passive voice sentence by using the preposition by. That's all for the video. Now you can watch another video on how to form passive verbs. Ciao!